First, are you related to anybody in that photo that we were just talking about? I think
I might have my grandfather who emigrated from Lithuania and got into South Bend in 1901. So it is possible that he was in that picture. I do not know. I knew my grandfather. I don't know if he's in that picture or not.
Lithuanian.
Yes.
My mother's Lithuanian, my father was Slovenian. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, my mother's family, you were talking about the immigration into the United States, came from Germany in the middle of the 1800s, 1850s. We've got some identification that far back. And settled in New York, and my mother was born and raised in Brooklyn. How my parents got together, it's a long story, and I won't bore you with the details. But, and the only reason we cannot go further back on my father's side, that both my grandparents were orphans in Lithuania. And they came over because they had a backer here in South Bend, the Greenblatt family, who were furriers, helped get them settled in South Bend. My grandfather finally settled in Mishawaka, became a wagon peddler, pushing his wagon around the streets of Mishawaka. And then when he finally made enough money, he bought a horse and pulled a horse and wagon.
Oh, he literally pushed his wagon around. I
Yes.
Meant that in
Yes.
a mystic way.
I have a picture, and you've seen it at my house, is of an elderly man pulling his wagon. I saw that at an art show years ago, and as soon as I saw it, I'm buying that, because as everybody says, if you don't know where you came from, and I look at that picture every day and say, thank God my grandfather got out of Lithuania and got here long before, all hell broke loose.
That's okay.
Okay, ask me another question.
Why do you care so much about that little synagogue that nobody goes to?
I grew up in that synagogue. It was my father.
I want to pause you. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I grew up in this synagogue.
Okay,
When
okay.
we show this film, you're going to be in it.
Okay. I grew up in this building. My father used to belong to every congregation in South Bend. He had enough money, and it wasn't that expensive back there. And we would come there on the high holidays and on Shabbos when we did come. And then I got involved with it when it became a Reconstructionist congregation. Then my Uncle Mendel and I were the last two that really had an interest physically in the building when that Reconstructionist congregation ceased to exist. And we took what money that was left in the treasury of the synagogue and kept the building at least stable. We cut the heat off. We replaced. There was a stairway coming from the balcony on the south side of the building that we had to dismantle because it was falling apart. We tried to keep the grass from growing too tall around it, so it would, and then we tried to have it reused. Is that the correct title? And so we got in touch with Todd at Indiana Landmarks, and they decided to take the building, and they tried for years and weren't very successful. There was one small period of time in there that it was occupied by a third party, but they couldn't find anything. And I am very happy that this building that we are in is now going to be part of the Coveleski Stadium complex. I think I think Mr. Berlin and the former mayor and the present mayor of South Bend has done a great service to the Jewish community and the city of South Bend to saving this building with the proper identification on it and the showing that it was a house of worship, and the cultural diversity of the neighborhood is something that people should know about, and this will help instill that passing on to the next generations, that history of the building and the neighborhood. Because the neighborhood is as important as the building. It is never going to be back to where it was, but the synagogue is going to be where it was originally built, and that's what pleases me.
Yeah, I think that was a beautiful 30, 40 seconds there, the way you summarized that, especially when you said, yeah, you're right, what they did for the Jewish community is great, but when you said for the whole community, because it's a gift to the whole community.
Yeah.
It really, and people need to understand that.
Yeah, they have to.
That's,
All right, ask me another question.
Gosh, that was pretty good. I mean, you took 20 minutes to get to that. That's
That's fine. Well, thank you very much.
You want me to?
And our Sabbath will end at sundown tomorrow. All our holidays start at sundown the day before. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, all the holidays start at sundown. We start it at the home. The home is the center of the Jewish religion, the family together. And then there are some very fine people who never walk into a synagogue, but they will have their Shabbos meal or their meal at sundown, because that's the way it is in our religion. It's not that you get up on Sunday morning and, we started on Friday night to Saturday night, and that's the way we are, our religion.
I didn't realize it was 5:15. I want to guarantee you'll be out of here in like 4 minutes. Honestly, what you said a minute ago was so utterly perfect. It does usually take a long time to get to that. So I just want to ask you about 100 years from now. 100 years from now, it seems like that the synagogue's over 100 years old now, right? And it seems like the kind of building, the way it's built, it could be here 100 years from now. But a lot of things outside of this structure of the synagogue itself have to happen to make sure that that can happen. This might be one of them, the kind of thing that's happening right now, because for the next 20 years we know that the synagogue's going to be fine.
A few of us in this room will be alive in 20 years, not counting me. But I think it's got a good chance of standing in another 100 years with the proper care and people looking after it on a continuing basis. It could stand for another 100 years. It is that solid of a building.
It is. Do you know that, you probably know this as a historian, there was a baseball stadium on the corner there. I think it was the southeast corner years ago.
Yes.
So not only has the synagogue outlived all the homes and businesses and other buildings that were built there over the years, it's already outlived another stadium.
Yes, and might even outlive the present stadium.
Exactly.
Yeah, and with the care and guidance that hopefully will follow this building, people will know about it in 100 years. That this building was a synagogue, was a house of worship, a house of learning, and that the neighborhood was just more than what is going to be built around this.
Yeah, I see. I think that's fascinating. I thought you might know. Was it the Singers? It was a huge stadium. It was.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was a Singer or Studebaker had a baseball team, and
It sat over 5,000 people.
that's more than this stadium
It
holds.
rivaled, almost had as many people as the current stadium. But of course, it was all wooden and.
Yeah.
It might have been the Studebakers. They called it some kind of field. I forget. It wasn't like Studebaker Field, or it was either Singers or Studebakers.
Yeah, one of the two.
That's amazing. I knew you'd know that.
Yeah.
Have you asked Randy about that? You know, the All-American Girls League was huge here,
Yeah.
you know, during the time of the World War II.
And they played at that field.
Yeah, I think
They
so.
also played at Playland
They
Park.
played at Playland too,
Playland
which
Park.
was their home field.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Wasn't that their home field?
yes.
Yeah. Because that was called, I forget what it was called.
Playland Park.
Was it just called Playland Park then?
I believe so, because I can remember going to baseball games there as a child with my uncle.
My
Was
grandpa
one of
was
my-
an umpire at those
Yeah,
games.
so your grandfather
But,
probably
you know,
umpired there.
My big point is, this is something that we revere even more than, as much as we appreciate the baseball. It's what's happening right now. This building is more than, it's well built, but it's more than just a building. And it seems like everybody recognizes that. Even if they're not Jewish, they recognize that. It hasn't been vandalized. Not really. It hasn't been
No,
vandalized.
hasn't been.
And most of the people who've been behind protecting it all these years, at the city level, or Joe Kernan and his guys, they're not Jewish. You and your uncle obviously are in the Jewish Federation, but it seems like it's been a community effort. Even for the people who could have vandalized it but didn't.
Mhm.
You know, maybe there's
Maybe a
there's
higher
reference.
power was looking
Maybe.
over that building.
It's going to be there 100 years from now. It's outlived one stadium. It'll outlive this one.
Yeah, it's
That's my point.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's fascinating.
and what grows up around it. I hope if other businesses and if people want to build homes back in this neighborhood, that they take care and look out for the building.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah,
100 years from now, it's a thriving neighborhood again, because everything's changed.
sure.
We can't even imagine what.
And we
The
can't.
one thing that stays the same is the synagogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great image.
Yeah.
Well, you've been great. You've been great.
Well, thank you.
And like you, and like Deb, I too had a dream that it would be something other than this, but at least it's going to be.
As I said, and I'll say it again, the building is going to be here. And if with the proper identification and notification on the building or inside it, people will know what it was
Yeah,
and carry on the legacy.
and the contribution that it played.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get that going, and we'll need your help to get that. If Andrew's not working on that, I'll get that going.
Yeah.
But if Whiteman Petrie's not got that document that you worked on
Yeah,
a
I
few
don't
years
even know
ago?
where it stopped. You know, we started to work on something, maybe Maggie did. I'm just